You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring clinical and forensic psychologist Joni Johnston.
The man that's been accused of being the Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann, his home, or his former home where he resided, his wife Asa and kids still residing there, raided again. Not a year ago, but a second time. That's what we're talking about right now. And the focus onto the basement, his kind of dungeonous area where we learned last year he had been hiding several hundred guns and child pornography. But Asa's been back in there, living life, and now they're back. Joining me to discuss, Joni Johnston, forensic psychologist. Joni, a year later, going back and looking again, what could they possibly have had the reason to go back into the Ellerup house for?
There has been so much speculation about why law enforcement's going back in. And, based on some of the things that they, I guess, uncovered the first time, all the guns that they collected and those kinds of things. I mean, there's lots of things that pop into my mind. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming they've gotten some new information that has spurred this revisiting his house. I wonder if they're looking for trophies, perhaps, the victims, if they're looking for, photographs, if they're looking for those kinds of things. I mean, we don't know what they're looking for. But the fact that it's in a basement and they're focusing on the area, again, makes me wonder if they think that he's hidden some things in there that they may have missed the first time. I know that there's a lot of talk about how, I guess, messy the house was when they first went in there. So I'm just, my guess is they're looking obviously for things that they may have missed the first time that they think maybe he is hidden somewhere in there.
It's kind of hard to find things in a hoarder house, even just basic things. And in something like this, where maybe you don't want things to be found, and you're talking about decades and decades of collecting. I mean, a lot of stuff could easily just blend in with the trash, but may have been a trophy to him. Another interesting thought that I had on this, and I'm interested to get your perspective on it. Sometimes just inanimate objects, things that really had nothing to do with the case, just their placement, where they might be, where someone else who may have been in the house, who has testimony to give about maybe some of these parties, maybe about who might have been at some of these parties and such, or participating or not, whatever it may be. Those sort of pieces can tie a case together as well, can they not?
They definitely can. So you're absolutely right. Maybe they've talked to some people, they've got additional information about what the basement looked like, or some items that were in there, and they're going in there to corroborate things, maybe take pictures. So you're absolutely right. They don't have to be looking for specific things to take out, although we do know from what we've seen in terms of photos and video that they have taken some things out of the house this time. So we don't know what that means. Are these the things they were looking for? Are these additional items that they're going to, peruse and go through and see what they have? There's so many questions about this, and I think we're all really, really curious what spurred the second search.
It's a lot of speculation right now, but I mean, and folks have to understand too. Just because they had the warrant a year ago to go in doesn't mean they can just go knocking anytime and like, oh, we forgot a few things. You mind if we come back in? No, they have to go back. They have to go get another warrant. And judges aren't always the most keen to do that unless you really have a solid reason to go back in. So that lends me to guess that there must be something pretty solid here. It does make me wonder as well, does this have anything to do with the original four, or are we starting to get into territory of other potential victims here?
You're absolutely right, because judges are not only oftentimes reluctant to give a second search warrant, or they want to know what it's for, but they want you to identify specifically what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I'm curious about is they must be looking for very specific things, because you can't just say on a search warrant, hey, we just want to go and look around again and go on a hunting expedition. They want to know specifically, what are you looking for? And what is it based on? What information do you have now that you didn't have a year ago that would warrant me granting you another search warrant?
Asa Ellerup, who resides there, that's his wife. They're still married. She originally, kind of publicly disowned him, but no, she's sticking around. She's even made the statement that she believes that he wasn't capable of doing these sort of things as she continues to film her documentary with 50 Cent. She was out of town when they came in for the second search. Was that on purpose? That they made the search while she was out of town? I should preface it.
My first thought was yes, that they somehow found this out. But the fact that the daughter was there makes me wonder if they would do that, because, this is a young girl. She's in her mid to late 20s. And I'm not sure they would pick a time when she would be by herself in the house. So, when I thought about it further, I'm not I think this was more of a coincidence than it was them picking a time when Asa and her son were gone. Because I don't know why you would pick a time when the daughter is there and have to deal with all this in law enforcement.
Sure. Asa obviously has not been charged with anything, innocent as far as we know. But as they keep digging deeper, does she have some reason to be concerned here that they're back in her house, her residence that she's been in for a year?
Well, I can't imagine what it would be like to have law enforcement showing up not once but twice to go through your house, and unexpectedly both times. And so I think it is hard on a family when you have law enforcement coming, and you probably start to wonder, can they show up at any time?
Sure.
I can't have any stability in my life. When you say, should she be worried? I've always been very, very reluctant, I still am, to think that a spouse would be involved unless have compelling reason to think that. Yeah. Because there have been so many situations of the serial killers whose wives had no idea this was going on. Maybe they thought they were cheating on them. Maybe they thought there were some odd things in their behavior. But most of us, as spouses, the last thing we're going to think is, it's because my husband's a serial killer. Yeah. That's why he's doing these kind of strange things, or that's why he's gone, or whatever. Yeah. So, and I think that we owe that to her.
I agree. And I think one thing, and maybe there's an agreement, I'm just speculating here, but maybe there was an agreement that, it's an open relationship. You can go do whatever you want. And, that's your thing. It's going to lead to weird, suspicious behavior if you're living that sort of lifestyle. Not necessarily to think he's murdering someone, but odd kind of sneaky behavior will be par for the course if that's kind of how you guys live.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that there's a huge gamut in terms of potential explanations for her not necessarily not knowing what's going on. You're right. People have all kinds of relationships inside their home. So did she know something? Did she suspect something and turn a blind eye? Do they have some kind of agreement? Or do they have an unspoken agreement? Do they have an open agreement? Do they have an open marriage? We don't know any of that stuff. That's a far cry from saying at this point that we have evidence that she was potentially a partner in these alleged serial murders.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm very interested to see that documentary when it comes out, because I'm really interested to hear her point of view on all this, because otherwise it's just been speculation, and hearing from the source itself, can be incredibly powerful.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free,
so you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.